This is an introduction to the Circle Masterpiece assignment. In this project, you're going to create a piece of visual artwork using circles and circular sectors that you will cut out of construction paper and assemble into an image. The mathematical goal here is to calculate the area of each color in the image. These circular punchers will be used to make sure that you get perfect circles to use for your masterpiece. There are 4 different sizes of circle punchers that you can use. The diameter of each circle is clearly marked on the handle of the puncher in both imperial and metric units. Using the circle punchers is very straightforward. Just insert paper into the gap, press down on the handle, and it will punch a circle out of the paper. To get that circle out of the puncher, just flip it over, remove the plastic cover, and then shake until the circle comes out. So now I'm going to set my circles aside, and I'm actually going to start to punch all the circles I'll need for the project. So I'm going to be creating a video game inspired circle masterpiece, so I'm just going to quickly punch a whole bunch of circles that are going to meet my needs here. Now you want to make sure you don't punch more than you need and that you're very economical with your paper usage, because we don't want to have a lot of waste from this project. So really make sure you've planned this out before you start punching. Okay, so now I have my circles ready to go. I have a few small white ones, 2 of the largest yellow, a large red, and some assorted smaller red ones that are the second size. So I'm going to set these off to the side so I can start to assemble my image. The first thing I'm going to need to do is cut my large yellow circle. I'm going to want to actually turn this into a 3/4 circle. So the best way to visualize that is to fold the paper in half. Now you can either do a hard crease fold or just a soft fold as I've done here. It'll help you visualize what 3/4 of the circle looks like and allow you to make your cuts. So there's my 3/4 circle in yellow. I don't need that piece. I'm just going to set that off to the side. And I'm going to use that first one that I cut as a template for my second one so that they work out to be roughly the same. And now I have 2 3/4 circles. If you haven't been able to tell, I'm going for a bit of a Pac-Man motif here, so I'm going to lay out some pellets here for the 2 Pac-Man characters to be eating, add some cherries there, and I want one of the Pac people here to actually be a Miss Pac-Man, and she has a red bow on her head. So I'm going to take my large red circle and I've folded it into 1/8 of a circle, and then I'm going to make some cuts here in that circle to get that perfect 1/8 of the red circle to use for that shape. Now, the reason I'm showing this is because I want to make you realize how you can make really precise cuts and get really precise fractions of circles. So now I can add those 1/8 in here on the top of the Pac-Man's head as a bow, and you'll see me flip this around in a second so you see the orientation the same way that I see it. But I was able to use those 1/8 of a circle to make the bow, and now I've got the Pac-Man image laid out the way that I like. So everything's in the appropriate spot. I'm going to start calculating the area now based on the different colors that I've used. So I've used red here in the 2 cherries and the bow on Miss Pac-Man. I have used the color white for all of the pellets, and I've used yellow for the 2 bodies of the Pac-Man characters. Now this is actually the bare minimum that you would be allowed to do for credit for the Circle Masterpiece, because the limitations that I have given here are that you have to use 3 distinct colors at a minimum, which I have, and 4 distinct shapes. And so my 3/4 circles would count as 1 shape, the small white circles counts as a 2nd shape, the slightly larger red circles is a 3rd shape, and then the 1/8 of the red circle that I used for the bow would count as the 4th shape. Again, this is the bare minimum, and even if I was to do all the mathematics correctly for this circle masterpiece, I would still only be able to achieve a level 5 to 6. In order for that level 7 or 8 to be accessible, you have to have something in your image where a piece of a circle is fully overlapping another piece, so that you have to account for the overlap when you're doing your area calculations. Without that pivotal piece into the mix, there's no way for you to attain that level 7 or 8 on the MYP rubric. So, the important thing to keep in mind as you start to brainstorm and develop your design is make sure it's ambitious so you can reach that high level on the rubric, but also make sure that it's manageable. So this design that I've made is fairly simple. If I added some small 8th or 16th circles to maybe Miss Pac-Man to make it look like she was wearing lipstick, or if I put little black dots on them with the smallest size circle to make eyes, that would allow for some overlap and free up my ability to get a level 7 or 8. It doesn't make it too much more complicated, but it does open up that top end of the rubric. So make sure you come up with an ambitious but realistic goal based on the time that you have.